All right, we're back with an all new show, Damage in Blue. I'm back. And listen, before we get into everything, Azriel Clary, who was a part of the whole takedown, I think, of R. Kelly, one of his former ex girlfriends who had been in a relationship with him when she was a minor, she's on the show. And I sat down with her and we got to get into it. But I feel like I've been gone for so long that I have missed out on the whole Will and Jada stuff, and it's still in the news, so we got to unpack some of that too. I posted a video on my Instagram where I said at 6:49 in the morning Dubai time that I was shooketh out of bed after the slappeth heard around the world reached my bedside, and I basically said we had to protect Will Smith because we live in a world where everybody wants to see Will lose everything, and now there are new reports going on that just keep the story alive. Are you both like me and sick of it and ready for it to die already?
Been tired. But when you hit somebody that hard, that slap has a reverberation. You know what I'm saying? It ripples through history. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be here for a while because that slap, as you seen the form, how he connected, I knew after that slap, there will be ripples of conversation for weeks to come. So shout out to Will for slapping the shit out of him.
This is a smear campaign. Welcome back, Jason. It's getting silly now. The last time I let myself talk about it was last Wednesday when we did that show. I literally have the slap fatigue. I am so tired of the slap. And I think what the slap is showing is how racist this country is. Y'all can get mad at me if you want. For those of you who are like, oh, violence is bad, this whole country was built on violence. Violence is bad, but the entire country that we live on was based in violence. So I just find it really hypocritical that people who are like Second Amendment rights and, I got my gun on me and X, Y, and Z. Oh no, but a slap is too far. The slap was inappropriate, but let's not clutch our pearls like we live in a dainty country. The country is violent, and they're making an exception. They're making an example, I should say, this black man in an academy that has looked a blind eye to rape and sexual assault and racism, but a slap is what makes you have to lose everything. I still think it's racist. I hate everything about this.
Listen, let's be very clear. Will Smith will not be canceled. We're not allowing that to happen. So we could just move right along. And I think that he'll be okay. Yes, a lot of his film projects are on hold now, from what they're saying, reportedly on hold. And he's also, since the slap, resigned from the Academy, which we all know at some point he'll be welcome back and they'll celebrate him being back because that's what happens. I find it ironic that so many people are mad at Will Smith. This is the same Academy that let that white man almost tongue kiss Halle Berry in public when she didn't want to be kissed, almost sexual assault live on television, and made that okay. This person was not told to resign from the Academy, was not banned from attending the Academy. What they're trying to do is exactly what you said. This modern day lynch mob called mainstream media is trying to put a noose around Will Smith's neck at some point. You also have Chris Rock out here who's refusing to comment on it, who said he's still processing. I don't know if that's because the slap is still ringing in his ear or he's just still in shock or he's milking this opportunity because as a victim, he is benefiting from all the bad press that Will Smith is getting. But it isn't Chris Rock that I'm now concerned about. It's Jada Pinkett Smith. Jada is now reportedly saying that she wishes Will didn't get physical with Chris Rock. Apparently, Jada Pinkett Smith isn't angry with Will Smith about getting physical with Chris Rock at the Oscars, but she wishes that he didn't get physical either. Now, we all know that what led to Will lashing out against Chris was that Chris had made jokes about Jada's hair, and this is after she had made revelations about having alopecia. And then Will got up out of his chair, slapped him, and then cussed him out in front of white people on live television, which was the most shocking part of it all. But now, Jada speaking out against Will is only, in my opinion, making this worse. And I have to tell you what I'm struggling with. Jada, I'm going to speak directly to you. We're at the Blue Table Talk. Okay, this is the Blue Table Talk. This is where we talk about shit that you don't want to talk about in a manner that doesn't feel too good. I have been defending you, Jada. I've been defending Will out here in these internet streets. And then for you to go out or for there to be a statement released that people close to you are now saying that you're upset that Will did that when he did it for you. This is where you should have said, as a woman, as a wife, I am happy that my man, my black man, held his queen down. And although I don't agree with the way that it happened, I would never, ever stand in the way of my man and his redemption or something like that. You're an actress. You could have cried or something. I just feel like Jada Pinkett Smith has made it permissible to emasculate Will Smith. And now she's making it permissible to say, see, even your wife thinks you were a weirdo for that.
But did she
Now,
say it though? Like, did she say? Because my thing is, I've had 2 or 3 different Jada statements from a source that I later found out Jada didn't say, and she had to come out and recant it. So a part of me wants to wait 36 hours to make sure she doesn't come out and say y'all lying on me again, because they put out fake Jada statements all the time to stoke the fire. So if she said it, I'm disappointed, but I'm praying to God that this is another, fake out.
what happened to just saying nothing, right? Like, I feel like if it don't even have to be my significant other with y'all. If I disagree behind the scenes, we can disagree. But we have to have a unified front. We are a family. We are a team. We are the
Mm-hmm.
Smith family. We are a brand. So you could totally not want Will to go up there and slap fire out of Chris, but you don't tell the world that. You don't tell the world anything. If you don't have something good to say about the united front, then don't say anything at all. So I'm hoping it's fake news, but who
Well, listen,
knows?
even though I stand with Will, I'm not saying that he should not be held accountable. Of course, he should be held accountable. He just shouldn't be canceled. We're not canceling anybody black in 2022. But I have to go on and say that at this point now, I feel like the Smiths are to blame for a lot of what's happened here. I think that a lot of celebrities who are iconic or superstars are so far removed from the world of social media and know that the only way to stay relevant is to tap into the vein of social media. When Will Smith discovered Instagram and was creating all that amazing content, I said, oh, Will Smith is going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem in these social media streets. And Will figured out social media and he got active with it. And then when Jada launched the Red Table Talk, I was like, yo, here we go. Now she's opening up about her feelings. She's opening up about the most personal things in their lives. And once they got together and started to let the world closer to what had been a very private relationship, I knew that it was only going to be problematic. And in a matter of time before people felt like they could invite themselves in to do and say whatever they want about the Smiths.
Yeah, this is a cautionary tale about how dangerous it is to let people into your business, because you're right. Once you open up that Pandora's box, you're inviting people in to have opinions, especially when you have an unconventional relationship. I'm going to be honest, as a woman, I don't agree with a lot of what Jada does in her marriage, right? Not to say that it's wrong. It's not how I would move with my man or my relationship, but I don't judge her for it. However, a lot of people will judge you for it. And I will say this too, the semblance of emasculation, usually when that word is used, it's weaponized against women as a way to tell us not to be strong. But I will say there have been several instances where I have felt like Will Smith was emasculated, and as a woman it hurts me to say that. And so I hope whatever conversations they're having on the back end, they as a unit fix this, because I thought they were going to be unified because he had her back. But if she really feels a way about him defending her, sis, that's not cool. He did it for you.
Well, listen, a source told Us Weekly that it was in the heat of the moment and it was him overreacting. He knows that. She knows that. They're in agreement that Will overreacted. Listen, we all know that he overreacted, but I don't think that Jada should be talking about Will's overreaction. In fact, I think what he did was, in my opinion, in direct support of his wife. I think in many ways, Will Smith has looked weak over the last couple years. There was the whole August Alsina stuff that had happened where he hadn't had much to say. August has since reached out to me, and I don't think he's happy with how I have viewed that relationship. But as I explained to him, and I'll say it right here publicly, proximity is what provides clarity. And I'm from where I sit, I'm on the outside. I don't know the relationship. I don't know if there was a express a permission from Will and his wife for her to engage in this relationship with August, but the world found out about it. There was a song created about it. I think August has even gone on to gaslight more with more activities since this has happened on social media. So the disrespect for Will Smith continues and just continues on and on and on. And so at some point, people have a breaking point. If this man actually did this in support of his wife, the protecting black women, which we know is not a real thing at this point, then I mean, why now would this black woman have the audacity to speak out the side of her face about her man's overreaction? I'll tell you right now, Jada, if this is true, and I'm going to say all sources all sources aren't real. I know that more than anybody. But Jada, if this is real, we'll need to go ahead and just leave your ass alone, sitting right there by yourself with your mama at the red table, because this is too much. Like we need Independence Day back. We need Muhammad Ali. We need Ali. We need our hero Will Smith back with all
We just
principles intact.
I just want to see them be a team. It's like watching the Lakers. Like, they got all the star players, but they're not working well together. I need to see them. And I feel like they are on some type of harmonious, like, I do feel like they're not at odds, because from the outside looking in, it's like she got a problem with him and he's just sad. And I feel like that's not the case. But what it looks like on the outside, because y'all portrayed this picture to us, y'all portrayed the happy, perfect picture. And now we got this chaos. I need y'all to just come together. I don't know if y'all need a huddle. I don't know what y'all need to do. I don't know if it needs to be another red table talk, but something needs to happen where I see y'all on the same page moving forward, because I hate that he's slapping Chris Rock for you. Then you come out a few days later talking about, I don't like that. Like, we need to figure out what page y'all on, for real.
There is another red table talk, damage. It's been reported that they're in talks about doing one post Oscar, so I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, they're working on it, according to
Duh,
Black media.
duh. We all saw this happening. All of us in the world of media saw this red table talk happening. It would be the most anticipated, watched red table ever. Okay, but I've even said just last night, Tony Rock, Chris Rock's brother, now is calling Jada Pinkett Smith a bitch in public on stage in front of people. Jada's being violated. Will is being emasculated. They want to take his Oscar. Whoopi's like, no. Whoopi's standing up for Will, even though Will didn't stand up for Whoopi when she got suspended for 2 weeks. I don't know how to make any sense of any of this chaotic situation that's in front of us. But what I will say is that, I don't believe in cancel culture. I feel like the pendulum needs to swing the other way now, where people can just do things and make mistakes, be held accountable. That means if he loses his Oscar, that means if he loses whatever he's supposed to lose as a consequence for the behavior, fine. But to remove him from the academy that he deserves to be a part of, to, continue to have all this fallout, and then now have sources close to him say that his wife feels some sort of way about him standing up for her. I don't know. But I will say this again to you, Willard Smith. If your wife is out speaking bad or counterproductive to the forward movement of you two as a partner, man, leave her. Because at this point, what else do you have to lose? You almost lost your whole career in front of the world.
Well, to
Let 'em
play
make you do
devil's
crazy
advocate,
things.
I remember on Red Table Talk, Jada was talking about her birthday party that Will went all out for. And she was talking about, like, yeah, you did this gesture for me, but this was really about you. And maybe that's the
Mhm.
message Jada's trying to send. Like, don't use this reaction you had as a way to put it on me, like you did this for me. Maybe she's looking at, like, just like her birthday party, you did this for you, Will, and your ego, because it's always about you. So I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. Maybe that's the point of view she's coming from, because I
He
did hear her
agreed
speak
too.
like this once before. Okay.
Yeah, he actually during that red table he agreed with her. So it wasn't like her accusing him and saying that and him disagreeing. He said, "You're right. I got a therapist and talked about it and realized that I'm obsessed with perfection and optics, and that a lot of the things that I do to look like a good husband to you, I'm actually doing it for me to feel like a good man in front of the public." So he's already admitted that he sometimes uses Jada to make himself look like a Russell Wilson. Like, I understand that, but that happened like what, 3 or 4 years ago. I would assume they've gotten more therapy since then. At what point do we stop punishing this man? And that's the part that really breaks my heart. Jason, to your point, this is not about accountability, because he took accountability, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
about punishing him. And there's a big difference between holding somebody accountable and wanting to see them suffer. They want to see him suffer. And that's what bothers me about
Well,
this.
listen, I've said before that, again, this modern day lynching led by mainstream is clearly us lining Kunta up in front of everybody to see him get his lashes until he
Mm-hmm.
changes his name to Toby. We not having it. But this goes back to us as Black people. We need to be more boisterous about the fact that cancel culture is a real thing. And right now, he's apologized to Chris Rock. He resigned from the Academy, and who's allowing him to keep his award for now. He has pieced it up with his wife. His children supported him. Whoopi Goldberg, other greats have come out and supported him. White folks are not happy. What is it going to take for people to move on? Like, what does he need to do? The responsibility of holding him accountable beyond what's happening lies with Chris Rock, and Chris Rock has already said he has nothing else he has to say about it. And so I just find it very unsettling that mainstream is still trying to push this narrative or this agenda that something more needs to happen. What, you want him to kill himself? You want him to go to jail? You want him to go to prison? None of that is happening here. But again, back on the topic of the conversation we're having today, Jada, I hope that if anything, you are defending your man. If he did something that you felt was feeding his ego to the world, at least it looked like he was standing up for you. Have that private conversation on your way to the steakhouse. Do not have that conversation on Us Weekly or on any other platform, because you're inviting us again to be in your business. And this is what happens. You don't want us to be, but here we are being lured in. All right, cool. R. Kelly's back in the news because he wants to delay the New York's sex trafficking sentencing and says that jurors saw his documentary. After being convicted in his New York sex trafficking and racketeering case, R. Kelly is now wanting his sentencing to be pushed back until he goes to trial in August for the child porn case that he has in Chicago. Now, Kelly's attorneys argue that statements made during his May 4th New York sentencing hearing, quote, might be used against him in his Chicago case. However, a U.S. district judge denied the request but did agree to push back sentencing 6 weeks later to June 16th. Now, meanwhile, Kelly also had words for his former legal team, who he claims picked numerous jurors who, quote, may have seen the Surviving R. Kelly documentary. And that was the series that chronicled the long history of abuse that he's had with women. And these were allegations made against him. Now, in a filing, he wrote, quote, at certain points during jury selection, I did hear that some jurors may have seen the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries, and that concerned me greatly. I raised my concerns with my attorneys, but they shooed me off. I was nothing more than a bystander in the process. There was no strategy involved in choosing these jurors that sat on my jury, as far as I could tell. At least there was no trial strategy that involved my input.
This is BS. This is absolute dog poo. The same way that somebody might have seen Surviving R. Kelly, I promise you, many more people have heard an R. Kelly song over his 30 years as an international superstar. There are people in small villages with no Wi Fi who've heard I Believe I Can Fly. So when the entire globe is already skewed in your favor, you cannot act like one documentary means that. No, no. The table has already been set to be in your favor for 30 years, R. Kelly. And now that there's finally a counterattack, you can't suddenly say that it's inadmissible. I think this is so rich coming from him because he's not a regular man and he's pretending to be a regular dude. You were an international superstar. Enough, bruh.
Well, devil's advocate, he may not be a regular dude, but he has the right to fair process, and that's the best part, the only best part, conceptually, of the idea that we live in a system where, in a world where our justice system is fair, which we all know that it's not. I think that when you are brought into court on charges, what your perception or the perception of you before you get there, it's something that you built, right? And if he built a good perception of him, he has the right to have that afforded to him when he goes in before a jury. They're going to determine the rest of his life and his freedoms or the lack thereof. But in this case, this is a person who had a sex tape out on VHS tape when I had a record play, the little video player, VCR.
Exactly.
Remember those? And so, like, we saw that tape, and we all have known for years what he has done, regardless if it got conjured up in a documentary or not. We know the whispers that have happened for years. We've seen all the interviews. And even on today's show, we're talking to a survivor who survived that experience with R. Kelly some time ago. And so, there's enough mounting evidence out here, regardless of who you get in that seat, that's going to be able to decipher the fact that you are somebody who's been with underage minors.
Mm-hmm. You know how nasty you got to be for your lawyers to not even want to come up with a strategy for you. They like, we're going to take this money and you're going in, buddy. He sat down with all his lawyers like, so did they see the documentary? They was like, buddy, it don't matter if they seen it or not. You going in there.
That's hilarious.
We'll push the date back, but you going in, dog. We seen the documentary and we seen that nasty ass VHS back in the day. You're going in. Thank you for paying us. Peace.
Now, listen, Kelly got rid of his previous legal team and hired some new lawyer named Jennifer Bonjean, who argues that he was never provided a fair trial because of the release of the documentary. And so now she's trying to find yet another attempt to be able to keep him out of trouble or to at least delay the inevitable. But, what I don't understand is you can delay what we know is coming. We know a guilty verdict is coming. There's no way, looking at the evidence, that you would say that he's not guilty. Now, some could say, well, they thought the same about Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, we didn't see no tapes. We heard people's accounts of 20 years before. We heard Bill. We heard things, but we didn't see actual tapes and have living, breathing people who were saying they were his girlfriend at the time he was being charged. Remember, Azriel, who's here, she was actually R. Kelly's girlfriend when he got arrested. And, she was living in the basement or locked up or somehow taken away from her family. And so we this is very different than a Bill Cosby or some other speculatory situation that we don't know what happened. Like we don't know if OJ killed those people.
R. Kelly is still grooming girls from lockup. Like, there's a video that just went viral like 2 weeks ago of an inmate who I'm hoping has been in jail for a long time and didn't see the documentary, who has a young daughter. And R. Kelly got on the phone with the young daughter and started singing to her. He's still
He's still
grooming
doing
girls
it.
from behind bars. Like, this
He's
man
still
has
doing
not
it.
learned anything. It's like I saw the video and this young girl's like, "Oh my God, R. Kelly's singing to me." I was like, "Sis, I don't think you understand what that means. It's not a good thing." So this man is despicable to me. And the fact that he has a female lawyer, dinner parties must be awkward at her house. Because how do you tell people that you're a woman who's defending R. Kelly for a living? The whole thing is just icky to me. And I think it's
I tell
about
you,
time that we just get to the inevitable. We all know how this
Well,
ends,
well,
hopefully.
I've been watching Azriel Clary from the beginning of this whole thing, and one thing when I heard that she wanted to talk to me, the one thing I thought about was how many women follow Hollywood Unlocked, how many young Black women follow Hollywood Unlocked, how many women are being sex trafficked or being lured into relationships with these men, how many young men are being lured into these relationships with older women or older men. And I really thought about the lack of platform for these people to have to talk about how they survive these things. I look at Azrael as somebody who actually survived R. Kelly. So when people were talking about they were surviving him, she actually survived and has come out on the other side of it. And this was a young girl that we saw go through many phases of manipulation with this man. She went through the phase of being an innocent girl who got caught up with this guy, to being in a relationship and completely under his spell, to defending him, viciously against Gayle King, and then now on the other side and saying that she was a survivor of inappropriate relationship with an older man. And I've also been very interested in understanding what people who are inside this bubble think about the people who help facilitate it all. R. Kelly is not the only person that should be in prison right now. There are a lot of other people that should be locked up with him. And there's a lot of people that are getting away, literally getting away with taking advantage of young women. And so I was intrigued at the idea of talking to her to learn more about what goes on in the mind of a person like an R. Kelly and what it takes in order for a young woman like her to escape.
I can't even begin to imagine what it's like being one of R. Kelly's girlfriends, and I put that in air quotes because sometimes consent is questionable. But I was very, very impressed when she came clean and admitted that she had lied to protect him. Because we talk about accountability all the time, but accountability means admitting I lied. And I can't remember the last time I've seen anybody of any age be brave enough to go on camera and say, Gayle King, I lied to you, you know? So the fact that she has been so transparent after she finally pulled away from him and is not pulling any punches with telling the truth about what happened to her, I actually love that, because even though a lot of her stories that I've read are disturbing, deeply disturbing and triggering, the amount of courage it takes to admit that you got and that you were brainwashed by someone and you're trying to regain your life, I can't even applaud her enough for that kind of courage, because there are a lot of people who will die not admitting they lied to protect someone.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, you think about the type of manipulation and coercion and fear that goes into getting somebody to not only create these lies with you, but to harbor your lies and protect and defend your lies. And it's I've never felt that I was vulnerable enough to anybody to be lured away from reality or lured away from my comfort zone or taken advantage of. And have I been betrayed? Yes, but to be completely taken advantage of and under that type of spell for so long by somebody has been very interesting to think about how that could even happen. And so I think it's a conversation that young women should be having with their families, and that parents should be aware of. What the signs are, and we talked a lot about that. Not only did she open up about what it was like to be lured away from her family and be into a relationship with somebody who was victimizing her, and how she got out of that, but also what she thinks about the star now, what she thinks about looking back at that Gayle King interview, and a real interesting point about how that even came about, and tips that she has for other young women who might be in similar situations. So this was an interview and a conversation that really was important for young women who might find themselves in the midst of an R. Kelly. Take a look. All right, so welcome, Azriel.
Yes.
All right, so you found your way here to Hollywood. You know, it's funny, before you got here, your manager, Cortez Bryant, popped in and surprised me. So that's when I knew that we're onto some legitimate music here if you're working with Tez.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Tez is my manager. Shout out to BPG. Sounds of an Angel is out, guys. The single is dropping in May, so I'm really excited.
Okay, so Azriel, you're a Capricorn. Now, we just had Lotto here. I think that was my last guest, and she's a Capricorn. I'm starting to be surrounded by Geminis and Capricorns, which I believe in the zodiac sign. Both were gifts from the devil, because we love Capricorns. But y'all are, my ex was a Capricorn, and that was a lot.
Wait, okay, I can see that. But Capricorn women, though, we're the best.
That must be what
we're
women, that's
so
what they say.
Rounded.
You and Lotto had the same exact answer, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, don't do that.
That must be in the manual
amazing.
for
the
avoiding.
Women, the women are amazing.
That must be in the manual for avoiding accountability, not the women. Okay, well, listen. So you're from Orlando?
I was actually born in Virginia, but yeah, I am from Florida. Yeah.
So what does being from Florida mean, or do you acknowledge Virginia as home base?
Well, I acknowledge Florida because that's pretty much where I grew up at, and that's pretty much where like music started for me, where I first got like my first vocal therapist and everybody, yeah, maybe like 9 or 10, yeah. So Florida is pretty much where everything started for me.
So you're only 23, which now makes me feel really old. When did music start for you?
Okay, so for me, music started, I was probably about 9 or 10, and it's so funny because there was this little Pantene commercial with Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield they used to play on commercials in like the 2000s. And that song was it for me. I used to be singing that song all the time. Like, I don't know where this woman came from, but this is the song. And then from there, my parents were like, whoa, she actually sounds pretty decent. Let's get her some, vocal coaches. And from there, I learned to write music, sheet read music, and, so forth.
So you were raised, were you the only kid? Do you have siblings?
No, I have siblings. It's actually 5 of us all together. But yeah, I grew up with my sister and my brother in Florida with my parents, and yeah.
So as a kid, I, of course, came to know you in the news as an adult. So I want to kind of go back and understand who you are as a person. So as a kid growing up, there were you, your 2 siblings, your parents.
Yes.
Your household, middle class household?
Yeah.
And so how were your relationships with your siblings? Were you the type that got along? Me, I always used to kill my sister's dolls and throw her toys in the toilet because they would be everywhere. And it would be annoying, and I think she would get more than me. So we were close, but it was always a side eye here and there.
I feel you. Yeah, actually, I was the baby.
Okay.
So it was my way or the highway. Yeah, I love my siblings. I'm super, super close to them. My sister was actually there when we shot Sounds of an Angel, the visuals. Yeah, I grew up with both of my siblings super, super close. They're probably tired of me now. But no, we're definitely super close. Yeah.
And your mom and dad, you all were close as a family?
Yes, I'm super close with all of them. Honestly, it's so crazy because every single night, both of my parents know how to cook, by the way, but every single night we used to always have dinner together, and it's something that a lot of people don't do anymore, but...
As a whole family?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
At
one table?
At one table, every single day. Like, that was just one of their biggest things, to always, break bread together and talk about your day and be able to express yourself. So it's crazy because now that we're all adults, like, even when it's like one of them are preparing dinner, like we all know, okay, it's time to eat together. Like nobody is in different rooms watching TV. Or
was that a conscious thing that mom did or dad did, or was that just the understanding of the household?
I just think that because they both came from very large families, like they were just very used to doing that and just having dinner with family. So it's just something that they kind of like did with us. And now when I'm with my friends, like we all eat together, we cook together. It's just one of those things that just get passed down.
Did that, in your opinion, was that one of the activities that made the family strong at that time?
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. I feel like anytime you're able to spend that quality time, it's like, everybody always seems like they're in such a rush to get somewhere, but it's like when you actually have that downtime with family, it's such a blessing.
It's interesting. I have a dining room table at my house. I don't really sit down and have meals at my table.
Oh no, you need to get a nice
decorative.
Bottle of wine, get some friends. You guys cook a good meal together.
Well, I'll think about it. All right, so moving on. So when did you know? So you knew early on you wanted to sing. I mean, most families, especially a family that seems as together as yours was, mom and dad both worked, right?
Yes.
In that time, parents want their kids to get stable jobs. Go and become a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer. Go do something that gets a check every 2 weeks. Were they supportive of your music career early on?
My
Or you
parents-
wanted to do music?
Yeah, actually, I've never worked a job in my life.
Wait, Lotto said the same thing. It's a
I've
Capricorn thing. Capricorn women don't work.
Yeah, I don't know. My parents were like, honestly, I just never want you to have the worker's mentality that a lot of people carry because it's very hard to break out of that.
Because
And
you get that comfort of
yes,
staying in that
just
job.
being very comfortable, and they just never wanted me to be comfortable in life. They always wanted me to go out and pursue anything that I felt like I could do, and music was something that they just made me feel like was not too big or not too far-fetched for me to be able to accomplish it. And so, they helped me pursue my music. They, helped me pay for vocal teachers to learn how to read music, write music, be able to, now book my own studio sessions, be able to write for myself and lay references for other artists. So it's like everything that they did to help me, it paid off in the long run.
And so did you feel privileged to have that? Not privileged.
I did, because I had a lot of friends that were working. In high school, I had so many friends that were working, and I was doing like shows and stuff like that. I was getting like $500. So I had a car in high school. So I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, I ain't got to clock it nowhere. I'm finna, relax. You feel me? But no, yeah, I just, did shows, I would write and stuff like that. And that's pretty much how I had money in high school and will be able to work. That was my work for me.
And so there was only one job for you, or only one career for your whole life that you saw, and that was music.
Yeah. Yes.
And so you've been around the music business for a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that you're in it, is it everything that you thought it was going to be? I mean, in terms of seeing the business side of it, because there's the music and then there's the music business.
Well, I feel like that's what I have such a great, phenomenal team for, because when it comes to me, I really just like the music side. Like, as long as I can record, and I'm such a night owl when it comes to my sessions, I literally record from 11 to 4 in the morning. But I just love that I have such a creative team that handles the business side, and they keep me super tied in. But for me, I definitely would say the best part of it is knowing that I have that luxury and that freedom to stay focused on what it is that I want to do, which is create the sound and create an emotion that people can attach to and relate to. So,
how would you define the sound?
Which song are we talking about?
Well, let's talk about the current one that you have, Sounds of an Angel.
Yeah, Sounds of an Angel, for me, that sound was super sultry. It was super sexy. It was really just geared around a vibe. And even when I was creating that, I was in a completely different new headspace, and I was so happy. I was moving forward with my life. I had just moved to Atlanta, I had my own place, and I was just going through a lot of great transitions. So for me, honestly, when I was writing it, I was like, this is going to be me being happy with where I am right now, and being fulfilled with where I am right now in life.
We just came back from the Grammys, where we saw Jasmine Sullivan win her first 2 Grammys, which I think is long overdue. She's so underrated and an amazing vocalist. But she had talked about, when she was being interviewed, Keisha from Hollywood Unlocked had asked her the question about, not winning after so many times. She'd been nominated 15 times and thought about giving up. Do you think that you're in it for the fatigue of the industry that it can cause at some time, and is winning awards an important part of the process for you?
I don't necessarily think awards is like something that I would even really consider a milestone for me personally. I think I have a lot of people that were really just rooting for me, and I feel like I had a lot of people that could relate to me, and nothing's more important than putting out music that people can relate to and people can feel and people can say, oh my God, I connect with this person. I've been here before. And so for me, I feel like just tapping into an emotion that I know other people can feel is probably going to be like the greatest gift of doing music and creating music.
So when you talk about people connecting to you in your music, what is it that you've been through, or that you're going through, or that you put out in your music that you think people can relate to?
I feel like everyone has pretty much gone through, a toxic relationship, especially you in this Capricorn that you keep making.
Yeah, I'm very damaged, by the way.
Yes, but I feel like everyone, at least once in their lifetime, will deal with, a toxic relationship. It happens. And, so I feel like for me, my music is able to when you're going through that dark place and you're finding yourself again and you're finding that confidence to be happy within yourself and look in the mirror and be like, I'm beautiful, and look in the mirror and say those positive, affirmations to yourself. I feel like that's a super, super, super large part, because people can lose themselves, going through toxic situations. So for me, I feel like my music is how to be like, hold on, I'm a bad bitch. Like, I'm sorry, I hate to say it, but yeah, it helps you, get that confidence back. Like, pause, I ain't lost the sauce. You feel me?
Well, no, I'm glad you said that, because, I came to know who you were, of course, through social media and the media, going through what you went through with R. Kelly.
Right.
And I was thinking a lot about this interview when they told me you were coming, because I feel like when we have the power of storytelling, people who have platforms like this, we have a responsibility to the people that watch. But we also have a responsibility to the people we interview. And I think about the women that follow my company, Hollywood on Lock,
Yes.
my 5 sisters who I love and who we protected for years.
Right.
And then I think about you and what you've gone through, and I've watched the transition. And I do see on the outside the growth, I see the breakthrough.
Thank
And I
you.
wanted to use this as an opportunity for those women who may be going through their own process. Because I don't look at you as a victim, I look at you as a survivor.
Right.
But there's been many layers to your survival
Yeah.
that have been in contrast to where I've seen some they've been different places. So I'm gonna ask you some questions. So 17, you meet R. Kelly. You meet him as a fan. I mean, I'm assuming like everybody else.
Yes, I did.
Did you think that he was going to be the end to the business, that thing you'd been fighting for your whole life, that he was going to be the person to help you get there?
Honestly, yeah, I did, because I have met a lot of other great artists even before him. And so I just thought, like, when I met him and he asked me to audition, it would just be no different. Like, honestly, I was just like, okay, this is somebody they're going to hear me sing. They're going to like it or they're not. And that's pretty much what I thought of it.
But at 17, I was a 17-year-old. Well, first of all, as a nine-year-old, I was in the streets with a latch around my neck.
Oh, man.
Before I went to foster care, they put me away. But when you were 17, were you a sophisticated 17? Were you a young, hopeful 17? Were you still a daddy's little girl 17?
I was actually like super, super mature, but I was still very much a child. So I was super naive, super gullible. I didn't work a job. I was
Well, we know you Capricorns don't work jobs.
happy, go lucky, very just just in my own little world, just living life. So I was just this very simple, normal teenage, 17-year-old.
Would you say at that time happy?
Oh yeah, I was definitely very happy.
And so then you become mentored by R. Kelly. And then between that point and what point were you just completely away from that happy home that sat down at dinner every night?
Honestly, I would say, a lot of people don't necessarily understand how fast stuff like escalated. But personally for me, I just feel like it just wasn't about music. And
Ever?
Never.
From the beginning?
It never. Even the people, like his assistants and stuff, they would try to redirect stuff. So it was a lot of adults that play parts and would let this person, know, like, hey, there are things that you're doing that, should not be happening, like other adults letting him know. And so for me, I just felt like, okay, what am I doing if I'm not, doing music? And that's what comes when you are dealing with someone that's very toxic and you're very young. It's so easy to manipulate someone. It's so easy to take advantage of someone. And for me, I was just naive and I just wanted to sing. And I just thought, this is somebody, that can either hear me sing and like me and, connect me with proper people that can help me, or nothing will happen. And so, I don't know, I guess for me, it was just super important to know that I didn't really need anybody to do what I'm doing now,
Well, there's a lot of power in what you're saying, and this is why I'm asking the questions. In your mind, the whole time, you still believe you were going to get the help.
Yeah. I was like,
but there was orchestrated effort around you to do completely different things.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But the reason why I asked the question is because I saw as your story was unfolding, I mean, as much as we were reporting, I was watching it. A lot of people blamed you and your parents. And it was
Yes.
almost like I didn't know what that was. Is that just fans who refuse to see the image of their star one way, or is it easy to just blame women and their parents for a man's wrongdoing?
Well, I kind of feel like you can never blame a parent, an adult who left their child with an adult. So let's start there. Like, that's first and foremost, you know. If you're an adult and you left a child with an adult, it does not fall on anybody else except for that adult that child was left with. And I definitely, you know, would also have to just agree with what you said. You know, it's a lot of the backlash that I get are from people that are actually still very much diehard fans of this man. Like, you can literally go on their page and you'll see like their face and this and that, and I'm just like, okay, it makes sense. It makes sense, but it's unfortunate. It really is unfortunate, but I just feel like it's a lot of naive people who, you know, fell in love with someone's artistry and their music, and that's not even something that I can take away, but right is right and wrong is wrong. And, you know, if you're, you know, mentally ill and sick, then you should do everything that you can to fix that. And I just feel like that's just all about accountability. Even me, I had to take accountability. Like, I'm here now, but, you know, I made a lot of very careless decisions. I was very young, I was very naive, and even I have to admit to that, you know? So that's pretty much what it comes down to.
So when was it a switch from them orchestrating control over you and basically lying to you and frauding you into you falling in love with them? Or did you ever fall in love?
I wouldn't necessarily say I was in love, because I feel like it was a lot of manipulation to just keep me there. You know, we now all know the beauty of love, you know, gaslighting and love bombing, and, you know, how people can, you know, take advantage of somebody or just, you know, anything of that nature. So I feel like it was definitely a lot of that, just keeping people there, just manipulating the situation to keep someone there, but not necessarily love.
But how did he get you to the point to where, I mean, he had you.
Yes.
Because you were.
You were.
I
had to think about it. Like, you're absolutely right.
No, because I've seen the different level. I've seen your process. I've seen the total control.
Yeah.
To like a light switch went off.
I was like, thank you, God.
So the total control piece, because there are women who are. I didn't even know how in-depth sex trafficking was, you know, and how simple it is to lure women away from or take women away from their environments. And as I'm hearing all the women in our fans talk about it, you know, I'm starting to tune more into women issues.
Right.
When do you realize the first level of control was there, that that it couldn't be penetrated? Like, what was the first sign?
Well, the first sign, honestly, I feel like I actually didn't really go through a lot of necessarily who he was until I turned 18. That is pretty much, I mean, when I first initially met him, all of my calls were very much monitored, even with my family. Like, it was 5 minutes and under. He had to be in the room. That was just for anybody. And and then when I turned 18, it was just, you can't call him at all. And I was just like, that's very odd, you know, but okay, because at that point, you know, I was comfortable, I was living with someone, so I was just like, okay. I didn't necessarily know where the disconnect was coming from, or why someone whom felt like they hadn't been doing anything wrong would even feel like they needed to say that. So for me, it was just a lot of, okay, you know, you've been treating people like very, very terribly, and clearly this is your way of trying to control the little bit of, you know, this narrative that you do have. So for me, that's probably was like the first red flag. Yeah.
And then but then you felt like you were too deep in, or did you feel still manipulated to stay?
I did feel a little bit of both, because I couldn't understand where that was necessarily coming from, or why I didn't necessarily or couldn't have a relationship with my parents or just call them normally. So for me, it was a little bit odd, but it wasn't like it just kind of seemed like something that he just made seem very simple. Like, oh, you know, next time you call your parents, you know, I just want to be present. You know, he just made it seem like something very simple. And then it became, okay, you actually cannot call them unless I'm here, you know. And it was, you know, it was I hate to say it, but it was an environment where you saw other women that were older than me that were allowing a lot of stuff. And so
To happen.
Yeah.
But what about those people? Because K. Michelle was here on the show and she said that when this was all going down, and she didn't say with you, but she said in general, like this
Right.
has been a long-standing practice or whatever, or that's what she alluded to. She said that there were a lot of moms in the kitchen cooking dinner. In some situations, this wasn't clearly yours.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's other people that should be in jail, like assistants or security or drivers or people who are booking hotels or travel? I mean, these people were around.
I mean, honestly, I don't necessarily think, I mean, I cannot speak for anybody else. At the end of the day, I went through something toxic with one person. One person is the only person that put their hands on me. One person is the only person that did not allow me to speak with my family and so forth. So I cannot sit up here and say, oh, I want to blame this person, I want to blame that person, because then even I wouldn't be growing as a young woman if I was sitting here sitting with all that baggage and holding on to all of that. So no, I feel like the only person that, you know, took advantage of people, and even his staff, you know, fired them, treated them terribly, talked about them terribly, you know, that person is exactly where he's at, you know, sitting exactly where they are in their skin, you know, and that is the only person that I feel that should be held accountable.
So where does this level of maturity come from? Because now I'm looking at you and you sitting here looking and sounding great, happy, smiling, laughing. Where was then what was your process to get through all that to where you are now?
Honestly, music and therapy. A lot of people don't know. When I left that situation in 2019, I went immediately into therapy.
But this is before you beat up Jocelyn or after? Because
Before.
the way you drug her through that hallway, that
Stop. We're not even here to talk about that.
Okay.
No. Honestly.
Did you guys make up?
No. No. I mean, no, we didn't make up, but yeah, honestly, for me, it was a lot of therapy, Jason. It was a lot of therapy, honestly. You know, music was something that really, really helped me with that also, because 2019, you couldn't even pay me to hum. I wouldn't even hum around people. And then, you know, 2020 came and I was humming and I was singing, I was recording. Then 2021 came and then I was really recording. I found my team and I was just like, okay, yeah, we're getting this show on the road. We're releasing stuff. We got dates locked in. And so for me, it was really just a lot of therapy and music and keeping myself grounded and remembering who I am and, you know, where I come from, and, you know, just remembering and like relearning myself as a grown woman. And even as I sit here today, I'm still relearning myself, you know. So I just think that it was something that was so comfortable and so familiar that helped me break through and get to where I am now.
So what was the breakthrough? Like, what was when you were in the midst of the demon and there was a light, there was some switch that had to go off? What was the switch?
Honestly, for me, it was just a lot of taking accountability and just a lot of forgiving myself. Like, it was so crucial that I forgave myself and that, you know, I told my younger self, like, it is okay to make mistakes. Like, you are not the first, you will not be the last person on this earth to make, you know, a mistake or to make something that ultimately may not have turned out the way you would have thought it would have. And for me, it was just really about growing as an adult, because as much as I can sit here and say, you know, I was a child, I'm not a child now. You know, and so for me, it's all about just forgiving myself and knowing that I can do whatever it is that I put my mind to. And, you know, sitting here is living proof that I can do that. So.
Well, sitting here is living proof that you have great media training, by the way. I don't know who trained you, but you're good. Shout out to Cortez. All right, so let's go back. So 5 years you guys were together.
Yes.
In 5 years, you were 15, right? 17,
I was
17
yes.
to 22, which is really important years in a young girl's life.
Yes.
And so at the time, were you not going to school either, or you were out of school?
So I was actually homeschooled, and then my senior year I was, I was in school, and then my senior year I was homeschooled, and then I was done with school after that.
And then you had no other friends outside of that?
Nobody.
So and then social media, you didn't have social media?
At all. This is like my third year with social media.
Wait a minute,
it's so hard. By the way, you have to tell me about.
No, it just hit me as we're sitting here. So you were not around in the birth of social media like that?
No. And even when I was a child and I was 14, 15, 16 doing music, my parents controlled my social media. They control my Facebook and everything. So I just never had social media until 2020.
So, wow, fascinating.
Yes.
But so let me understand. So when you're completely cut off from the world like that, and you're not able to absorb what's going on around you, you don't know what countries are at war, you don't know the inflation, you don't know about anything in the economy, you don't know nothing about what's happening, and you have no friends to call you and dial you in.
No. When they say you're living under a rock, that was like literal.
So was the world for you was just waking up and that's it?
Yeah, I came back and I was just like, what the hell is all this stuff that I gotta do? I gotta run this, I gotta run that, I'm like, pause, like, whoa, this is actually a lot of things.
But does it feel lonely?
I don't think it feels lonely because I have a great support system.
No, I mean at the time.
At the time, I think it was overwhelming because I was just like, I didn't know what people wanted to see from me, what people wanted to expect, but a lot of people really just embraced me. They loved just seeing my personality shine through, which I felt was, super amazing. And I feel like a lot of people watch me heal, like they really watch me go through my healing process.
So then you come back, the light switch goes on, and but before it went all the way on, it was still a little dim when you did that Gayle King interview, and I know you've taken responsibility and ownership for that, so I'm not even going to get into that. When you look back at it now, though, having taken responsibility and gone through that, who was that girl sitting there? Because that's not who's here today.
Yeah.
And which is a good thing, because it shows growth. But when you look back at that young lady, what do you think?
I just think that she was scared. I feel like she was honestly scared, and I feel like, regardless of however anybody wants to perceive an interview through their screen, at the end of the day, I had to go back to whatever I was going back to, and the rest of the world continued to go on with their life. So for me, I feel like at that point, I had to do what I felt would protect me most in that situation as a young woman. And so I look back and I just wish that I could give her a big hug and say, you do not have to be scared, and it is so okay to stand up for yourself, because look at where you are now. Like, this is literally just me standing up for myself and controlling my narrative and, controlling my testimony, my legacy. And so for me, I feel like it was super important.
You said a minute ago that he was putting his hands on you. You were abused by him?
Yeah.
So were you afraid in that interview that if it didn't go the way that he expected it to be, to give that cover that you've been given for so long, that it could end up with that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You did a damn good job in that interview. I mean, you held it down.
Yeah.
To protect him, but really you were protecting yourself.
Yeah, I was protecting myself because I was scared, and I feel like anybody that watches that, like, I'm super aggressive, I'm like super mean, like for no reason, like just on standby. So I just know for me, like, I just was full of so much fear, and I didn't know what to expect. It's like I didn't even know that we were going to be doing an interview with Gayle until probably like less than 24 hours, maybe like the morning, like the night before, going into the morning of. So, and it's like, I don't watch news anyways. I didn't know who she was. I was just like,
wait, you
okay.
didn't know who Gayle King was?
No, I didn't.
You did not know who?
I know
Oprah Winfrey, you know who Oprah's best friend?
Yes, I did know.
I mean, but she's more than that, but Oprah's Gayle.
Yes, I knew who she was. I just didn't know that was her name. Like, I knew her face.
Okay,
I just didn't know that was who she was. But I just found out everything like super abruptly. So I was just like, okay, I just need to protect myself. At the end of the day, after this, I still got to go back to that. And so I need to do whatever I can and say whatever I have to do to make this person feel like we are
protecting him.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it was. And it's unfortunate, but I really did, do what I felt was best for me at that age.
Well, I never really understood why people blamed you, or blamed any of the women. I don't understand that. And what I love in just sitting and watching you, because as much as I'm asking you questions and listening, I'm paying attention to how you're answering. And I love the honesty and the transparency, because I've had people up here, hey, sweetie, don't want to answer nothing. She's coming back to redeem herself, though. But there has to be some respect for somebody who's gone through something so public. Everybody watching, we get to watch it from the comfort of our homes. We're not in the front seat. But where does that strength come from? Does that come from mom, dad, from just how you were brought up?
I definitely do think it comes from my parents. Honestly, they've always taught me to, stand up for myself and to always be strong. I've always feel like I'm just such the lone wolf. Like, I just feel like I'm that person that has to go through the fire for everybody. Like, I don't know why God chose me to be the strongest soldier, but hey, here I am. But no, I definitely do get that from my parents. They've raised a very strong young woman. I've been through a lot, and ultimately for me, I just know that there are people out there that have been through something similar. And it's like, when you're going through that, it's like, how do I get through that to go back to where I was? Or how do I get back to finding myself? And so for me, it was super, super important to show how I healed in my healing process, in days that I was happy, days that I was sad, days that I was depressed, days that I was low, days that I was high. And so I just feel like doing that, it kind of helped a lot of other women be able to leave situations and just take every single day at a time and just finding things that you love. For me, my outlet was music, and being able to have that outlet, it helped me grow and have so much courage, like more than anything else, I feel like.
Two more questions. One question about this, and then we'll move on. One question I want to ask you is, people who've gone through like stuff that you've gone through come out on the other side, and then they'll do an interview about projects they're working on, and they'll say, I want to talk about everything but that. And you didn't do that. You decided to be very comfortable in me asking you the questions, and I appreciate that. You didn't say, I can't ask you anything. And there's things I don't need to ask you because it's already out there. Why are you still comfortable and okay with being asked about your past?
Honestly, I'm not. Let me just say, I'm not. After this, no. Don't nobody ask. No, I'm just joking. No, but I'm actually not. But honestly, with you, I felt like you use your platform for so much good, and you give this platform for a lot of upcoming artists and just artists and influencers in general to, pivot their career, and you give them the space to really like control their narrative and be in control of who they are and what they do and what they stand for. And so for me, I felt like it was super important for me to come here and be as transparent as possible and let you do what you do as Jason. So.
Well, thank you. No, thank you. No, I thought a lot about it because we've never been the type to try to get you. And I feel like you represent a lot of women who are getting got. And there are a lot of men that I think prey on young women who have a vision for their life and who have a passion and a talent. And then their lights get dimmed and never figure out how to flicker again, and you figured it out. And I feel like, hopefully people see more than a headline, that they see the talent, they can get to it. And then when I see Cortez walk, I'm like, okay, y'all really must be working. Y'all put it together. Okay, so let's talk about the music. You have Sounds of an Angel. That's the first single. Now, you have an EP that you're working on.
Yes.
Or you already have, or is it done?
It's already done.
Okay.
The EP is done, 5 tracks. Inside Me is the second single. I'm super excited.
Assignment?
Inside Me.
Inside Me, okay.
Yes, that's the second single. And honestly, this EP is just so fresh and so potent and so sexy. And for me, it was just really about just finding that confidence again in who Azriel is and what does she stand for. And she's just so sexy and such a badass, So for me, it was really just bringing that out in my music.
So I just saw Chloe Bailey this past week, and she's been one, I think, that's kind of grown into her sexuality and her sensuality. And I was telling her, stop letting the haters hate on you, because I feel like as young women, when you evolve into becoming women, people online always have something to say. Have you gotten any feedback from tapping into the sultry side?
I do. I have gotten a little bit of feedback from a couple people, but I just think, we're all young. All these people that you sit up here and name, we're all young. We're all beautiful women. And it's like, we have the right to feel confident in our skin. We have the right to feel sexy in our skin. We should be able to put on a dress or a skirt or a crop top and just feel good, And so I feel like I'm no different.
And if anybody else knows, you should be able to be in total control of your body.
Of course, that too.
Okay, and so this media training, who trains you?
I don't. Do
Somebody,
I really?
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
wow.
pretty good.
I don't know. I'm just really being myself.
This is really you?
Yeah, this is really me.
This is really good.
After this, we're probably gonna go Nobu. Celebrate a little bit.
Well, listen, I'm glad that you're still moving and that you have music coming. We're gonna check that out. And anytime you want to come here, holla at us.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy. Thank you for letting me be here.
All right, so the single's out now,
Yes, the single is out now.
and the EP drops.
May 25th.
Okay, so pick it up.
Yeah.
Peace. All right, look, that was a great show, and make sure you keep coming back because we got all types of amazing interviews and topics that are gonna make you go crazy.
That's right. That means like, subscribe, do everything you need to do to make sure you stay up to date with what we got going on.
And ladies, stay tuned in because you know I have your back.
And listen, make sure that you're commenting below because even though I say I don't read it on the show, that's all I do when it's over. Peace.